Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
And I'm the attorney, Brooke Brigham.
All right, people, this is it. And just like that, Season 2, Episode 11, we have made it to the end. The Last Supper, Part 2. And this is the season finale. We have made it. We did it, people. We did it. It is happening.
Yes.
So let's see. I guess we should just jump right in because
start at the beginning.
And I'm telling you, this much anticipated return of Kim Cattrall as Samantha. And I just felt like, woo, it just happened right away.
Yeah.
And I was not prepared. I was emotionally not prepared. But here, I was
kind of underwhelmed.
Yeah, honestly. I was underwhelmed too. But so she wasn't the first thing. But tell me, what was because we haven't talked about it yet. How did you feel about the episode and the season finale and how it all wrapped up?
Well, I was left at the end very confused. I don't really know what happened. I don't really know what any of this means. Like, they're not going to see each other for 5 years. They're not going to.
Are they broken up?
Are they broken up? Are they on a break? Can Carrie date other people? Can he date other people? Are they going to continue to see each other when they can? Or, was he just saying that I can't do this really committed 1 week on, 1 week off thing, that I have to primarily be in Virginia, but maybe... But then he said he didn't want her coming to Virginia.
Yeah.
So that would mean that he would have to come to New York when he could. And then I also have a lot of questions about this ex-wife, Kathy. Like, what the fuck is her problem?
Yeah.
They supposedly have been co-parenting for 5 years. They've been divorced for 5 years. And she seems to have no control over this child, or we don't even know what's going on with the other children. He said that he was the primary parent because she was always traveling. There's just so much we don't know and understand.
Yes.
And I'm kind of mad that Aidan just recklessly came back into Carrie's life and co-signed on this relationship in the apartment. And now she's stuck with this 4-bedroom apartment. And she was so, not mad about it. I would have been so pissed.
Yeah, well, but everything that she's been through and she's put him through, I guess she feels like she can't be mad. But I was angry. I was not happy about the ending either, but I was more I was angry because I felt like, okay, as we've been talking about the show, I was so prepared for he's going to come back. It's not going to work, and the second season's going to be about Carrie dating, and Aidan's going to be one of the people that she dates, and he's going to come back around, and they're going to realize they're not meant to be. And then when we saw them come back and they realized, and she realizes that she made this mistake and that maybe they could be, and that this was her chance to, maybe see what happens. I co-signed that, and I got on board. And then I was like, you motherfuckers, you got me all excited for, Aidan 2.0 or 3.0. And now you rip them apart? How could you do this to me again?
Well, and the way that it happened was so unemotional. He was very unemotional, matter-of-factly about it. Like, this is just how it's got to be. And she had a moment where she was upset, where she said, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here again. But then she snapped out of it and she was like, well, okay. And then they had all this nice, fun sex that night. And then, she just has this sort of like laissez-faire attitude about it. Like, we'll see what happens. And maybe one reason why is because when they wrote and filmed this episode, they didn't know if they were going to be picked up for a third season. It just came out this week.
Yes, that's
picked up for a third season. So I think they had to come up with an ending that was flexible.
Yeah, I can see that.
Could go like it might be a series finale, it might be a season finale. Either way, though, I feel like it was unsatisfying. It felt unrealistic. It felt too easy. It just was like, what the hell? Like, I feel like this is like a yo-yo.
Yeah, it felt very yo-yo-y. And it did feel, I listened to the podcast and I do understand their thought process, which is we can't have Carrie break up with Aidan again, which I get. We all knew that part. I understand that part. And that, knowing Aidan and knowing who he is, that the only thing that he could choose above Carrie would be his children, which I get. And I could see that part too. But I'm with you in the sense that it didn't make a lot of sense where what seems to me would make a lot more sense would be him saying, hey, give me 6 months. Like, give me.
How about let's just, change of plans. I'm not going to be going back and forth every other week. We're just going to see what happens.
Yeah.
See how this goes. Because, if you have kids that age, any age, you can't predict what's going to happen next week or next month or next year. Like, life is fluid, especially when you're co-parenting and you have kids that age and all that kind of stuff's happening. It should have just been like, I want to be in a relationship with you, but I'm probably not going to get to spend as much time with you because I'm going to have to deal with this stuff. But why is he making it like, I can't come back for 5 years?
Well, and also,
see you in 5 years.
Until he's in his teens. I'm sorry, but anybody who has kids knows there's a huge difference between, he says, Wyatt's turning 15 next week, right? There's a huge difference between 15 and
16, 17.
Your daughter's 20 and my son is 15. They are light years ahead of beyond where they are in their lives.
And every kid is different. Every kid needs a different amount of help and support and time and energy and whatever. And just because Wyatt is having trouble now doesn't mean he's going to be having trouble in 2 years.
So what is that? And Carrie does make that comment about at the end, and I think that was a little nod and wink of, well, I may get off
time for good behavior.
Yeah. In the writer's room, the podcast, they do mention that is a little bit of a wink and nod of like, this may not be forever.
Last that long.
Yeah. That he may be back for season 3, which I think would be interesting and good. And I think they did leave that open. But at the same time, it did feel a little bit like, okay, so now that's it. You know, it would have been better to keep it open. I would have liked to see it be a little bit more what you're talking about of like, hey, can we find some sort of different arrangement? Because to me, if you really wanted to make this about women in their 50s, women in this new time, then this is a much more realistic situation. Because I do think that women in their 50s, when you're dating in your 50s...
You're dating men with children.
Yeah, this is a bit more of what it is like in your 50s, where you have these complicated things where it's a little bit of him saying, okay, listen, we're going to have to figure this out, and I'm not going to be up here all the time. And it's going to be weird for a while, but it just felt so odd. But for them to bring us to this brink and to just do
cut us off,
just to like curb stomp us.
Yeah.
I just felt defeated and so mad. And the other thing is, goddamn the internet. I swear, it's like if you don't watch the show Thursday morning, some of us have lives and jobs and things to do. I swear, if you don't watch the show by Thursday at noon, you can't go on the internet till you've watched it. I swear, it was spoiled for me by Thursday at some time. I was like, I was so mad it got spoiled for me. I was so mad. So mad. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and also, how is it that all of a sudden he was fine with going into her apartment? That was weird.
Yeah, that was...
I guess he had to make a concession since he was basically going in there
ripping,
rip the rug out from under her. So...
I don't know. Yeah. And they don't talk about that on the Writers' Room podcast. They didn't address that at all of like, why now are you suddenly going to let this character and, be okay with this? And there's no reaction from him at all. And this was been a plot line for about 5-6 episodes since he's been back, big deal, big deal. And I don't know. So anyway, but the episode does open with actually her, and what was so weird and funny was it starts as if it starts right where it left off at the last episode, the next day,
the same day or something.
Because we saw Charlotte
wake up from her hangover.
Yes. So we see Carrie. She's walking into the new apartment, or she's walking. Oh, no. Yeah, she's walking into her old apartment and walking up the stairs with the new napkins. And then we see her hanging up with Aidan, and then picking up the phone, and we see her talking to Samantha. And I have to say that both these women, they're both really great actresses, because as we both know, neither of them were talking to the other one.
No.
So they both really fooled me and made me think that they were talking to each other. But for all of the hype, it was very underwhelming. I mean,
I thought very short, and
I didn't think it was going to be a long phone call, but it was very short.
Yeah. And Samantha, I don't know. When I saw her, I thought to myself, how old is this woman now?
She's 67. It was just her birthday.
Okay, because my first thought was, she seems like a goofy, like, old aunt or something. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't seem like the...
Oh, really?
The sort of, like, hip Samantha that we're used to.
Well, Pat Fields dressed her, as we all know. She insisted on Pat Fields.
Yeah, but it wasn't even the way she was dressed. It was more like... just her affect to me. She seems kind of like a goofy older lady. Like, I feel like she just showed her age. I don't know. She seemed goofy to me.
Yeah, the writing wasn't great.
No.
They did that callback to Annabelle Bronstein, which we all know from Sex and the City, from the original series. But, saying goodbye to the apartment, I don't know.
It was just weird.
It was just kind of weird. And, I think starting the conversation with those fucking, that seemed very Samantha, like those fucking, I can't get there in time, and that felt like her, but the writing felt, yeah, I don't know. It was very underwhelming. Obviously nothing was going to live up to this hype.
No.
It was nice to see her again. Both of those are very good actors, because God knows they made it seem like they were talking to each other.
Well, it was supposed to be a surprise, but Kim Cattrall actually leaked it.
She did? I thought someone else spoiled it.
No, I think she did. And I think MPK is not happy about that. I think if it had been a surprise, it would have been... we would have overlooked this, but we were expecting something. Our expectations were high. And I also... I heard someone say that there was an article that said that Michael Patrick King did not direct her because she doesn't like him either.
Oh, no. Well, listen, I don't blame you, Kim Cattrall. I can't stand the guy.
So it was directed by somebody else. It just felt very detached from whatever they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then normally we go character by character, but it's probably easier to just go in order. So next was Charlotte, right? Am I thinking is the next person we'd see is Charlotte?
I have no idea, but we can talk about Charlotte.
Let's talk about Charlotte. So next we see Charlotte. And this was great. I love this scene where Charlotte is face down in bed. So we see her right from she's passed out from the night before, and Harry wakes her up. And she gets up. That's the best. And she's still in that suit. And so he's there. And he says, well, Anthony's here. He needs to talk to you. And Harry is incredulous because he has, done about 2 days of parenting.
Yeah, he made them breakfast.
Breakfast and got the kids up and out. But Anthony's been trying to reach her, but her phone is in the bottom of a margarita pitcher. But I'm loving this new Charlotte.
I love her. She continues her rage against the patriarchy.
Yes.
And tells Harry, you haven't done shit. You think you've done something because you got the girls up and out 2 days in a row. Good for you. You're doing the bare minimum.
Yes.
I know. I love it. I've loved her whole season. She's been great.
Yes. So, and I love what she's saying, which is, men think that just saying that I'm going to support you is enough. And it's not. You need to help. You need to do more. And that's what she's asking to do. So she basically says, I cannot deal with Anthony.
Get rid of Anthony.
And talking about his ass virginity right now, he needs to go. So, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
And then we check in with Miranda goes and sees Steve at Coney Island, and she wants to have a, conversation with him.
They make up.
They make up essentially. Again, Steve just seems so odd, but he just gets oddly New Yorker-y, Brooklyn-y.
But it was a nice scene, and Miranda told him that, she complimented him, he complimented her, they complimented each other on, what they brought to the relationship.
Yeah.
And the best thing Steve ever did for their finances was to buy that place in Brooklyn.
Yeah, because
they made a couple $1 million.
Yes. They got in there before all the hipsters got there.
Yeah, and then he redid the place. He just made them $2 million or more.
Yes.
I don't know. God, you should be kissing his feet. But here's what I don't understand. Then suddenly Brady pulls up on a bicycle and he's watching them and smiling. Okay, I don't know the geography of New York very well, but Coney Island, is that an actual island? How does he bike there?
Well, I think he took his bike probably on the subway. And then biked from there.
So now he's working at the snack shack?
I would think so, yeah. I think Brady's a little lost right now.
Well, yeah.
So
that's clear.
Yes.
That was a nice scene. And then I think before that, in one of the beginning scenes, was where Naya gets told by her mentor,
professor,
that she's been accepted to the American Law Institute,
which is a very big deal. Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know if that was a real thing or not.
It's like a prestigious group of legal scholars who write about the law, and it is very prestigious.
Okay, I didn't know if that was like a real thing or not.
Yeah.
And because this is one of the things, because I used to work with actors and all of that, I get obsessive about actors and such. And I recognized that guy right away because he had been in Sex and the City before. He was Charlotte's tap dance teacher. And I knew who that guy was.
He's a big Broadway star.
I guess so. I mean, I knew his face and I was like, and I'm always like, ooh, he's been on the show before.
Yeah.
But they talked about that on the podcast. I always get annoyed when I'm like, I knew that first. So that's where everybody is before we start the big party.
There was a reason why. So then when Naya went home and she told Miranda about the American Law Institute, of course, Miranda's like thrilled for her. But then she said, why was it? She said at first she wasn't going to go to Carrie's dinner party.
Because she felt, which is understandable.
Because she wasn't in a couple.
She had this big news and she said the first thing that I wanted to do, or the first thing I thought of, was I wanted to pick up the phone and call Andre Rashad, and she just felt sad that she didn't have anyone to enjoy it with. And Miranda said, yeah, I understand. And it's understandable. And I hear you. And there's going to be this Michelin star chef there. And this is going to be amazing. And, please come. And I need you as my wing woman. I need you. So she said, okay, I'll come. And so...
Well, and can I just say while I'm thinking of this, just jumping ahead again to the dinner party. There was two things about it that didn't feel right. First, Steve wasn't there.
Yes.
And Carrie had told Miranda
that's
that
right.
both of her exes were going to be.
Oh,
Miranda was mad at her.
That's a continuity thing.
Yeah, she's mad
You
because
are right,
why are
Brooke.
you inviting both my exes? And she's like, hey, they're my friends too, and I'm going to invite them, and you need to just deal with it. But
you
Steve
are right.
wasn't
Steve
there.
was not there. Justice for Steve more.
Exactly.
Steve missed out on a good meal.
Even more. And then Che is there, but this is after. Carrie had said that before. Che just totally humiliated Miranda at the comedy club. And I really think that, look, Carrie and Miranda have known each other for like 30 years. Her and Che have been friends for 5 minutes. If Che had done that, if I were in Carrie's position and she had done, I would be like, fuck you. You're not coming to my dinner party. You know, I mean, and if she told Charlotte or any of these people what had happened, you know, Charlotte would have just been like, they wouldn't have stood for like Miranda being humiliated like that. And then Che just waltzes in, and Che's just obnoxious and rude and, you know.
Yeah, that is weird because at the dinner party, what's the other guy's name?
Jackie?
Jackie.
Yeah, why is he there?
So Jackie and Che and
Smoke.
But Jackie, Che, and Carrie all hug, and they're like, oh, the Beatles, the gang's back together. I'm like, can we all rewind for a second here? This was this podcast that you all did together. Carrie was so uncomfortable. Che,
she didn't even like doing it.
She didn't even like doing it. She felt weird about it.
It's been over for a year.
Che had to lecture you about it.
Yeah.
You all kind of didn't know each other very well. You all were uncomfortable. And now you're all like acting like you're the goddamn Beatles. It is very weird how you went from this to this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is very odd.
And I would have uninvited Che after that. I would have said like, you know, this is going to be uncomfortable for Miranda, and I don't want you there.
But it is. I have seen people talk about this I feel like I've seen it online where people have said, like, why did Carrie just stay and do nothing?
Right.
And not go after
leave.
Miranda or not sort of support her friend after all of that.
Yeah, good question.
It's a good, those are two very good points, Brooke. You are absolutely right. Yeah, and Carrie has known Steve for, how old is Brady now? For more than Brady's life.
It's over 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, she's still with Aidan at this moment in time. That's his business partner.
I know.
So, you're right.
That makes no sense.
So, let's get to this dinner party. So, it's beautiful. She creates this big long table, and we there's not a lot to talk about in terms of the dinner party. We sort of see everyone coming in, and we see little snippets of everyone's conversations and what's happening, and we kind of get these updates of everybody in their lives. And so I'm trying to think about like these little snippets of everything.
Well, first, Charlotte comes in, she sees LTW and Herbert, and she notices that LTW's drinking alcohol, and she's confused. And so she tells her that, you know, she lost the baby.
Yeah.
And then Harry comes in with her new iPhone. That sort of cuts that conversation off.
Well, you know what? Did you hear on the writer's room about how, well, a couple things. So first, Charlotte says, "Oh, you're drinking," like says it like, "Oh," and LTW says, "We lost the baby," and LTW says, "But not here." Like she doesn't want to make it. I don't want to talk about it here. I don't. And then in the writers' room, they talk about Harry and how Harry's big gesture for Charlotte was buying her this iPhone. Did you?
I think that's the least he can do.
I just felt like this was the big gesture. Was like buying her an iPhone. I was like.
She would have bought one anyway.
Like standing in the line of Apple and buying the iPhone was the big gesture. I was like, oh boy, you guys have low standards for your partner. After like, okay, whatever. So anyway, and then if you want to, let's say with the LTW stuff. And so, what triggered her to start crying? Oh, baby! She shows the kitten. So Carrie wants to show everybody her new kitten, Shoe, that she named Shoe. And she's like, and then I wanted to show you my new kitten Shoe before I put my baby to sleep. And that triggers LTW. She starts crying. She runs into the bathroom. And then Herbert, I called him Chris Jackson. Herbert follows her, and LTW she feels a lot of guilt because she feels like, did I wish this baby away? Did I not want this baby? And it's a very sweet scene where Herbert's saying to her, no, that's not, God has a plan for us. This is not our plan. You didn't do anything wrong. And
yeah, which was very, we've never heard anybody talk really about God or religion or talking that way before. So that sort of surprised me. But
yeah,
I know they try to keep it kind of
separate.
But yeah, and of course, this ties into another story where Guiseppe he says it in front of, I forget who else is there. But he says that
LTW, Herbert, and I think it was Charlotte there too? Yes, Charlotte was there because she was like, oh, Rome. Oh, but you're going to come back, right? When he talks about going back to Rome.
He says he's thinking about going back to Rome, and Anthony's just like, what? And he's like, yes, I just find the publishing scene, impenetrable. But he also finds Anthony impenetrable too.
Too many walls up.
And so Anthony says, well, I'm just, I've only been in love one time before, and I had all the control. And Guiseppe says, you love me? And he's like, oh, of course I love you. And so they're making out in this. Yeah. That's what they always do. They have something, and then they go make out in a room or a closet. Yeah. So they're in Carrie's closet, and I guess the only way into the bathroom is through Carrie's closet. So every time Lizette is coming in and out, she's like looking at some stuff in the closet. Herbert and LTW are coming in and out, and they're just making out in the closet. Yes. I guess they,
But I have to say that whole Guiseppe thing about going to Rome and, I think I'm going to go back to Rome. And Anthony's like, you're going to go back to Rome. And of course, Charlotte being Charlotte, but you're going to come back, right? I was just like, that's so passive aggressive. You know what I mean? It's like, I think I'm going to go back to Rome. There's so many walls up here, and it's impenetrable, and blah, 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 blah. It's like,
well, he's a poet, Tess.
Yeah, I know, but it's just the whole thing is just dramatic. like, listen, and we all know it's not just about getting up your ass. Like, we all know it's about like the fact that he's got walls up and you want to, blah, 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 blah. We get that. But it's a little bit like, just stop being passive aggressive of like, I'm going to go to Rome and I don't think I'm going to come back. And it's just, okay, Guiseppe, just...
Well, he's like 20,
you're exhausting.
He's like 25 or something. I know. That's how 25-year-olds are.
Okay. Well, I know how 25-year-olds are, but it's just a little bit of this. If he is so quote unquote mature and he's so evolved.
Well, when did he claim to be mature and evolved?
I thought he seemed to be but he seemed to be this one who keeps claiming that he is, I am so mature, I am so this, I am so that. I always thought he was the more mature one.
Well, I think he was just talking about his generation is different.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever said I'm more mature.
Okay, he didn't use the word mature.
It was like a generational difference.
All right, was it fine? But I just feel like he's just being, I just feel like he's being a little passive aggressive.
All right, Tess has to be right.
No, I don't have to be right. I don't have to be right. I just feel like he is being a little, I think just claiming you're going to go to Rome and in a group full of people with this guy's friends, I think it's a little passive aggressive. I think it is.
All right.
Personally, but that's fine. It doesn't mean he's mature. I didn't say that he said he was mature. I just think, never mind, it's fine.
It's a TV show.
I know.
Okay, so
where are we now?
Okay, so they're in and out of the bathroom. And then,
so that's their storyline.
I guess.
And Naya.
When Naya and Miranda arrive, they meet the Michelin chef because Carrie doesn't really have a kitchen, so they have to cook the dinner in Lizette's apartment because she has a nice kitchen. And she sees who the Michelin chef is, and it's that guy Toussaint from like episode 1.
Yes,
who we said, that fine man
cute.
Better come back, and he's back.
And and that guy when I saw him, I was like, isn't that guy on CSI? And it seemed like, God, that guy's way too famous to just like come on and say hello.
For one episode. Yeah.
So, and he's cute. And so hopefully he'll be back for season 3.
He will be back in season 3.
He is very cute.
So this just makes her giddy, makes her nice.
Oh, yeah. So he is very cute.
And Miranda, I loved what she was wearing.
Yeah.
She was wearing this beautiful red dress and then a beautiful gold cape.
Yeah.
She looked fantastic.
So they arrive, and so she runs into him, and she's like, "Okay, bye, Miranda." So she's no longer Miranda's
not a
wing woman.
Yeah,
but that's the thing you do. You gotta ditch your friend for this guy. So they talk, and then Miranda, of course, being Miranda, storms up the stairs, goes right in, sees Che in the kitchen,
and Che's just hanging out in the kitchen doing shots with.
Well, what I think is so funny
there.
too is the minute you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, it's the kitchen, quote unquote. Oh. This is the fingering kitchen."
Oh, that is. You're right.
I was like, "Ooh, it's the fingering kitchen."
Oh, a lot of memories. A lot went down
and
there.
And they were doing tequila shots, remember? And blowing smoke and all that other stuff.
Circle.
But okay, so can we back up for a second? Because when Che shows up, they see Lizette, and Lizette talks about butterfly and metamorphosis.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, this Che thing, I know I keep getting back on it, but the Che thing bugs me to no end, because Che's transitioning and metamorph and like again, like
from what to what exactly?
To what? I mean, the whole thing was Che was saying it took me 46 years to know who I am. And now you feel like you need to become something new again? I don't understand.
I don't understand Che
I don't understand you.
Bit.
The person that we met in season 1, I thought that person had become fully actualized and realized. So are you saying that all the work you did on yourself to become who you are when
just
we
went
all first met you is gone?
Yeah.
Is gone? Like, that person actually isn't you, that because you lost this pilot, that because you lost a pilot in Hollywood, that people, that this happens to tons of people in the world. Tons of people. We all lose out on things. We all lose out on opportunities in our lives that we think are awesome. Loves, and, Carrie just got broken up with, I mean, like, we all lose things. Like, that one thing in your life happens to you, and you now are going through a metamorphosis. Like, is this what you're telling us?
Well, I don't know. Che is the worst. They are the least developed character,
Yes.
the worst character, worst written, worst thought out, just the worst. I don't know what the hell is going on, and I don't even fucking care. I don't care when Che comes on the screen. I'm like, oh God, please make this fast. It is so boring, unrealistic. Can't relate to anything that they're saying.
I think that it's Sada. It's not Sarah. Sada
Ramirez.
I think is a great actor, and I am so and when they give this character things to do that are interesting, I think they're great. I am so frustrated, and I feel for them, but I'm so frustrated by this. They're this metamorphosis, and I'm just like anyway. So anyway, Miranda goes stomping in there, so Miranda, and like, we have to be nice for Carrie. I thought that was great. We need to get along. So Che apologizes, and I can't remember what happens after that.
I think Miranda said you can never use that material again, or something.
That's right.
Che agreed to, I'm never going to say it again. And they talk about how they were a train wreck, and then Miranda says something about, well, the thing about trains is sometimes you need to take a train to get to where you need to go.
And then in the writer's room, they were all laughing and saying, oh, okay, and this is what the audience thought. And I feel like, and this is what really bothered me, which is, this is when artists listen to the audience too much, which is the writers almost were like, and this is what the audience thought. This was this whole thing with people's opinion about the Miranda, Che, Steve situation, that I think that they listened to way too much and got way too confused by, which was, again, they really misinterpreted what everybody thought about Miranda, this whole Miranda, Che, Steve thing.
Yeah, no, it had nothing to do with Miranda getting together with Che. It was the way that they portrayed Steve and so disrespected Steve, and how Miranda just dumped him unceremoniously.
And just the character.
And making him like in this like bumbling guy who couldn't hear and all this kind of stuff. That was what people were mad about. It wasn't that Miranda started a relationship with Che. If she had done it maybe a different way, or had more respect for Steve.
Yeah, it was the portrayal of Steve and the fact that, yes, they made him bumbling. It was the fact that Che wasn't a funny comedian, not funny at all. It was the fact that the character itself wasn't just a very likable person in general. There were a lot of things about the person that wasn't very fun and likable. And it was just funny, some of the things that were like the comedy concert and the fact that the comedy concert was more of a TED Talk than a funny concert. And, smoking weed in an elevator of a corporate building. Like, there was all these things that were so, like, blatant. And then Miranda just not being Miranda.
Right.
Like, Miranda, the character.
Because look at her now. She's back to herself. And
And
she's killing it.
Yeah.
You know?
And obviously, when people go through these transitions in their life, they are different than who they are. But there is a sliver of their true selves.
Yeah.
So that was the issue that people had. But these writers, they somehow hooked on to everything and listened to, like, didn't get it. So now they're responding to that in such a weird way. And their interpretation of that was like, okay, so yeah, this was all bad. This was a bad relationship. And I'm like, no, wait a second. Okay, so now you think this whole relationship was a train wreck?
Well, they did write the line where Miranda said, sometimes you need to get on a train to go where you need to go. And it's not necessarily a train wreck.
Yeah.
It's that this person is a vehicle to get you.
Yeah.
It was a vehicle to get her, I guess, out of an unhappy marriage. Mm-hmm. Get more focused about maybe her sexuality, what she wanted out of life. Whatever.
Because they weren't happy. She and Steve weren't happy.
No.
That was very clear.
Well, I think Steve may have been happy, but she wasn't happy. But
yeah. I don't know. But I think if Steve was happy, I think he would have. I don't think Steve was happy either. I think that's kind of what he was sort of saying when they saw each other.
He maybe just didn't want to admit it at the time.
Or he wasn't ready to.
Well, anyway, now Che has a new love interest. This Toby. Mm-hmm. Let's get Che out of, the core three, and Che can have their own journey of something else. I don't know. I'm exhausted. Exhausted by it.
Okay, so then they're good.
So I think that's it.
Everybody.
They finally all sit down for this Last Supper.
Yes,
and Carrie makes them do an
one
annoying
of those games when everyone has to go around the room.
I hate this.
Well, but at least you know what? The one good thing was, everyone could only say one word. Mm-hmm. So that's really good because, with those kinds of things, there's always someone who rambles on. So everyone had to go around and say one thing that they want to let go of. So everyone has to let go of something. I did not write down what everyone said.
I know Che said rules. And then there was a bunch I don't remember.
It was like guilt and
it was the guilt,
fear.
Miranda said guilt, and I think LTW also said guilt. She says, I have to. Oh, and then Seema said distrust because we forgot there was.
Oh, that's right.
There was a scene before this where okay. I still don't see an ounce of chemistry between these two people.
Neither do I.
And I would never believe they were together. Seema always seems to be annoyed, upset. There's no connection. They barely speak to each other. And he's telling her that he has to go to Egypt for 5 months to film this scene for his movie in front of the Sphinx, and they've never let anybody film a movie there before, and he has to go, and he wants her to go with him, and she's like, no, I'm not going to just leave my life and my job and whatever. And she's, she's still jealous about these actresses or whoever, like whoever she's jealous of. It's not even clear anymore. Mm-hmm. And he tells her, I love you basically, but you're ruining this.
Yeah. I've given you no reason.
Right. There's no reason for you not to trust me. And, you're going to basically break us up. Mm-hmm. And so I think that kind of snaps her out of it somewhat. So she says distrust. Mm-hmm. And then there was some more. I can't remember what it was. And then Carrie said expectations.
Yes.
And it's a good thing she did that because she did not know what was coming.
Yes.
She really had to let go of some
little
big
did she
time
know.
expectations.
Little did she know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we only saw them serve. There was one little part where they served a course, olives 3 ways or something
liquid
like that.
olives,
Liquid olives or
burst
whatever
in your mouth or something.
And then then we see her at the end, and she's blowing out candles, and then we hear tick little rocks being thrown, and there's Aidan coming up the stairs. No problem coming back to the apartment that he's been resisting coming back to, so much so that they've spent thousands of dollars on hotels.
Yeah.
But these two have so much goddamn money, they don't care. And he tells her that they found magic mushrooms in Wyatt's system.
What the hell are magic mushrooms? Oh,
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin. Well, how is that different than like your
regular
traditional shrooms, like from the 60s and 70s?
I don't know. These are very magical. But you know what? Everyone's microdosing now. You can go anywhere and get magic mushrooms. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like maybe he was just microdosing or something.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Everybody's doing it.
But apparently, so he's been what we were talking about earlier. He's been the main parent, and this Kathy just apparently
she
just
sounds like a flake.
Yeah, she just travels off all the time. She's giving Carrie lectures about not hurting her boys. You know what, Kathy? Get it together.
Yeah.
Like, where are you?
Wyatt's mad at her, called her a dick. He somehow was able to sneak out of her house
and get magic mushrooms somewhere.
Yeah, and hitchhike down to the farm. I mean, I really, I have some questions for Kathy. I don't know.
But and that's the other thing too. I just want to say, once kids are a certain age, you can't put a tracker on them. I mean, they have phones. That's a form of a tracker. But like, there is some point where, there was a period of time where my son, would not go to school, and people are like, you just have to make him. I'm like, you can't, once a kid's a certain age, like, you cannot force someone to do something. Like, with kids, it's really, really hard. Teenagers, I should say.
You cannot physically force them to do anything.
Yeah. And so there is a point at which, right, like, you short of locking them up
or
and
staring
at them constantly, right? So anyway, he tells her that he needs to, this is what he needs to do, and give him 5 years until his kids are all out of their teens. And she's just like, okay, sure,
all
no
right,
problem.
Let's have sex, and I'll give you a little send off.
Yes. So then we see these final scenes of everybody's kind of like wrapping things up here, where we see Harry.
Everybody's having sex.
Well, except for Harry and Charlotte. They're trying to figure out the new phone.
Yeah, they want to set up the phone by themselves
without their kids, without Rock's help. I would be calling my kid first thing, but and then it's them, and then we see Seema and Ravi laughing in bed, smoking, and laughing those two smoke. And Carrie and Aidan. Who else do we see? We see LTW and Herbert.
They're more just kind of cuddling.
They're cuddling, and
and then Toussaint goes home with Naya. He says he's hungry. He didn't get to eat. Yeah, so she lets him in
because she likes to cook. Yeah. She cooks, as we know. She made a souffle. So hopefully she can feed him. And who else?
Oh, well, Anthony lost his ass virginity.
Yes, it looked very painful. There was a lot. Apparently, there was a lot of body butter.
There was a lot of lube. On the nightstand.
Table. It looked very painful. So hopefully he's enjoying it here. I'm sure it gets better over time. And then who else?
Then Miranda was called.
Oh, that's right.
Because her boss was unavailable. Mm-hmm. She was called down to the BBC studios to do a emergency interview. And of course, she's in her element. She gets on. She looks beautiful. She's in that red dress.
Oh, that's right. I knew we would see that Joy again too.
Yeah. Yes. So the producer woman, Joy, after the interview, they go out and they're obviously like just talking constantly all night. Obviously, they're hitting it off. Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll be seeing Joy.
So maybe she's a love interest. Maybe she'll be a friend. Yeah. But that'll be good. So it's like, and that's a better match. And I think obviously it's more of like, this is who Miranda is. This is where she's going in life, and this is a better fit.
So is that everybody?
Yeah, we see Che with Toby. So that's great. And Che's back in their apartment that they can't afford.
Well, maybe Toby can move in and pay half the rent.
Yeah. That's not a bad choice or anything. Just shack up with someone new.
Well, never stopped Shay before.
At the very end, we see Carrie saying goodbye to Aidan, and then at the very end, we see Carrie and Seema on the beach in Greece. Mm-hmm. And just like that, she orders 2 more cosmopolitans because, hey, when you have tons of money from your dead ex or from your dead husband and all the money in the world, you can just travel around, not work, and, just order cosmopolitans on the beach.
Yeah, I don't know. Cosmopolitans now are so out of style.
Yeah.
That, the fact that she's ordering on the beach, that sounds gross. I don't think I've ever had a cosmopolitan. I think I've had a sip of one. I think they're disgusting. Yeah, they're not very good.
I don't like whatever one of the mixers are.
Yeah,
there's a
just
mixer
vodka and cranberry juice and some simple syrup.
No, there's something that they mix it with. There's something that's mixed in there that I hate. I hate one of the mixers. It's like a real
sugary.
I can look it up.
Something.
I can tell you what they mix it with that I cannot stand. There's some sort of taste in there. So. And just like that, it's over.
Just like that, it's over. I know. Well, this has been quite a journey. That's the thing. In the beginning of these seasons and of Just Like That, it's just a lot of complaining about, this is terrible. And then they start to, hit their stride. And then by the end, and then it's over. And then it's like, we're not going to get this show back again for a year.
Okay, and then we're going to start to mix it. We're going to start to miss it, not mix it. I'm looking at Cosmopolitan.
I'm sure we will.
What is it that's in Cosmopolitans that I hate, that I don't like? Is it Contro? Contro, is that how you say it? Is it triple sec? Maybe it's triple sec that I don't like.
Triple sec is what's in margaritas.
Oh, then I like that. Because I like margaritas.
Or is it Contro? One of them. So, I don't know, Tess, you went to bartending school.
I did. It was a long time ago. Well, I can't remember all these things. Let's see. Vodka, Cointreau, ounce of cranberry juice, lime. Maybe not. Okay. Well, maybe I do like a cosmopolitan.
Maybe it's just been too long. You need to try
I think
one.
Maybe it is. There's something in there that I don't like. Okay.
So
anywho.
Well, now, how does this SAG-AFTRA thing work? Like, are these actors, are they all, like, SAG members?
Well, yeah, it used to be separate. It used to be SAG and AFTRA were separate. And SAG was usually like film and television, and AFTRA was radio and like industrials.
But do you have
to? But now they combine them together, so it's one together.
Do you have to be in the union?
Well, you don't have to be in the union, but there's union gigs and there's non-union.
So
gigs.
If it's a union gig, you have to only hire union actors. Because obviously Sarah Jessica Parker doesn't need to be in SAG to get health care. Like a lot of the people that they're fighting for their rights now.
But you have to be. But if you want health care through the union, yes,
right. But if you don't need that, if you can afford your own.
Yes.
To just buy your own health care.
But I would think that...
Then what is the benefit of being in the union?
Well, but obviously it's discounted. It's discounted health care. And so for example, right, I'm in... I'm part of an association, this therapist association, and because I'm part of this therapist association, I get a discount on my liability insurance. It's like that, right?
Right, but my understanding is like the actors who really need this are the ones who you have to work a certain number of hours, and these are not like high paid actors, not like celebrities.
Yes,
and they're just regular working actors who have like they do one episode of some show, but they really need it because their entire health care is covered if you work a certain number of hours. But that's not a Sarah Jessica Parker type of person. So Sarah Jessica Parker could just say, I don't need to be in the union. I don't care. I'll work, I mean, if you're not in the union, can you work if it's a union job, or you can't work at all?
Oh, okay. I don't... Oh, that's a good question. I believe... Well... Everybody has to be in SAG or AFTRA you have to be in the union to work on these shows. So
All of them?
yes. Yes. So there are union shows and non-union shows. Everything that's pretty much produced in Hollywood that's of any significance is union.
Oh, okay.
So, and they decided to unionize. And as part of that benefit, there are health benefits.
Right.
So obviously, for Sarah Jessica Parker, it is not life or death for her to get that health insurance.
Right. I'm just wondering if if this strike goes on, if it would affect a show like this. I know it's going to affect a sitcom made in
affect
LA.
everything.
Okay.
It's going to affect everything.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it took, I can't remember when the first season of And Just Like That came out, but it feels like a year ago. I mean, it feels like it'll be a year. It'll be a year.
No, this is going to affect everything. This
so
is going to affect absolutely
everything.
Year. Yes.
It'll be more than a year before we get a season 3 if they don't settle this
all
soon.
of this stuff. The actors and the actor one is going to, that's why this actor strike is really important, because the actor strike really helps the writer strike. Because obviously people care a lot more about the actors than they do about writers, unfortunately. But I mean, obviously we need the writers because they write the words, but it does. It affects everything. And this stuff is really, this is the part that I think people don't understand, is that what I think a lot of people don't realize is that, a lot of the actors, and these were the people that I used to work with, or these are these people that you see and they kind of look vaguely familiar and you're like, oh yeah, that guy, I just saw him on this episode over here and this episode over there. The bulk of the people that work in LA are these actors that do, they do a lot of TV shows, they're in random movies, they maybe were on a TV show at one point, and they really live off of the residuals of TV shows, of these things. And so, yeah, they might make, they might be on a pilot where they make, $50,000 for the pilot, and that sounds like a lot of money, but that's like they are doing 2 pilots a year, and that's it. Like that's the extent of it. And that amount of money allows them to stay in that union, and then they're paying, they're probably paying some money extra for their health care, and that's what keeps them afloat. So it's a big deal. It's a really big deal.
All right. Well,
anyway, so yeah, all of this stuff is going to affect everything. And that's why they're trying to push out all these reality shows. So if these reality stars start saying, we're out of here, then I don't know. If Bethany Frankel can gather them all together, and
we might have to start reading again.
I know. We might have to pick up some books or something.
Oh my God.
God, what are we going to talk about on our show? We're going to have to pick, read.
Yeah, we're going to have to go back to the classics. I don't know, read Jane Austen, talk about that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Oh, God. No, we can just go back to old reality shows and talk about that.
Old. Go back to like MTV, The Real World, season 1 or something.
Okay. I don't even think I even watched that, so we could watch that.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Phew, phew, phew.
Plenty of material.
All right. So thank you so much for sticking around. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give us a review, 5-star review on Apple. If you like this show, we are continuing our Sister Wives coverage. We are reviewing and recapping the new season of Sister Wives, so please tune in. Those are coming out hot off the presses as quickly as we can get them out. On Mondays. And the same day that this episode will come out. And then we are continuing with our Sister Wives Rewind. We will be doing season 5, episode 3, which will come out tomorrow on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So check that out as well. And check us out on social media, Psych Legal Pop on Instagram and TikTok. And I think that's it.
And just like that,
it's over. It's over. All right. Sorry, I just repeated exactly what you just said. And just like that, I'm a parrot.
Bye.
Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Stephen here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Stephen will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fanfellows wherever you get your podcasts.
Give me a mountain with lots to do. Give me the sunshine, give me a dew. Give me something simple and true. All I need is sunshine and a cool, refreshing mountain dew. So give me my good friends, give me a dew.
Grab some friends and an ice-cold Mountain Dew today.
Mountain Dew.